Hi, welcome to week 40. I just need to make one more. I need to knock my camera over is what I need to do. I sound sick, I am sick. And it's only because of all the work. But I'll explain that in a second. But week 40, what are we dealing with in week 40? Your guides and your concerns for house number 10. So everything that Capricorn and Saturn and your 10th house mean to you and who's helping you with it, right? And just to catch up on where the sun is, sort of, look at Mars way back there. Oh, hey, Mars is leaving Scorpius. Okay. Gonna go through, still kind of in the Scorpius energy, crossing that Ophiuchus little thing there, but for a couple more days we've got strong Mars in Scorpius. Nice. That's been working for me, actually. Sun is, I wonder what does it mean when the sun crosses the elliptic of the Milky Way? Gotta look at that. So that's been the last week or so. Couple of weeks. Venus, of course, retrograde. That's why Mercury got past Venus. Mercury is pretty much, yeah, totally in Capricorn at this point. So our thinking hats, our imaginations have left all that wild happiness of Sagittarius, and now we're into the deep magic of Capricornus. There is deep happiness in Capricornus, but there's also the weight of it. So the Jupiter there in the belly of Aquarius, of course, and that moon is, we've got that moon, and it was just a new moon, wasn't it? Let's just see here. So I was in Stellarium there. Whoops, now I've gone into Sky Safari by accident. Let's see if I can zoom in on that, right? So I've got Sky Safari, Stellarium, and this is not my favorite moon app, but I still haven't found the one for this phone that was my favorite on my last phone. 2%. Oh, I'm pretty wrong about the new moon, aren't I? Yeah, no, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm right. But see, they're gonna say it was in Capricorn, and it's still in Sagittarius. So they follow the tropical, and that's what, who needs that? So there's a fair bit to get into. I'll be pausing the camera often enough just to get myself sorted, but I made changes to the layout. This is going back to last week's video. I still had it on the table, and I did another read through, and I pasted even slightly differently again. Let me sit down and get my head on straight. A modification I made, so last time I had the devil cards in the center here. And I had these candles pushed aside so that I could do a discard. Yes. What I would do now, I would still create room for that, right? And I would discard this way. Okay, telling the story. So if you go back, if you need to figure out what I'm saying, telling the story, starting with what you're afraid of with this devil card. So the Capricorn, where your story, you're going around the whole, matching the tarot cards to the chart, to your astrological chart, because they correlate. Okay, 4 decks, and of course this is the deck I use for my state of mind, and this follows my chart in my whole house system, and this follows my chart in the uneven house system. And I am finding out so strongly how important it is to have both house systems as who you are versus how life plays out. So your whole house system tells you what your bottom line, what your house is like for you. So my 3rd house is in Capricornus, right? In Capricorn. And so that's how I think. That's what my mind focuses on naturally. But in the uneven house system, and I use Ibn Ezra, Regiomontanus, there's how I am versus how life plays out. And my third house is in, I believe it's a combination, I want to say Aquarius and Pisces. So where it gets applied and how it gets used and manipulated and everything is a whole other story to where it is. And so, and if you look at life events, then they're going to correlate, they're going to match this house system. Whereas who you are, how you feel about things, what you gravitate to, is going to match this house system. So it's not enough to have one house system. Absolutely, it's not. That's how complex this game is. Whew. So instead of having the devil cards on the center, I put the decks in the center. 4 decks. This is one, of course, split in half, working backwards and forwards, because this is my Kali devil. She's my helper. Kali is who I work for. She created me. And so she has to work forwards and backwards in time, right? Because the devil, the actual devil, the great architect, works forwards and backwards in time, because they're working with our chart when we don't even know our chart, right? So I've split the deck according to, I've split it from where it hits in Capricorn, right? Okay, so I went through all of that in the last video, but I switched it so that these are all together rather than apart. And I also adapted slightly how I work with when I hit wherever I hit major arcana. What I was doing before was, yes, there's the pause effect with the major arcana, and then because these decks have more cards in them, because they're double to this, yes, this is split in half. So what I do is if I hit a major arcana in either her deck or his deck, okay, then I realize they're controlling time with that. And I'm going to go through extra cards until I feel like the story has caught up to what that major arcana was setting out to achieve, okay? So that's where there's some communication necessary between me and her when reading the cards. If I hit major arcana in here, if it is representative of a constellation, right? Then I put it over top. I keep it in this pile where the devil is, right? Because that's Capricorn season. It's just signifying the change of season in my life, the constellation, okay? If it is another major arcana, then they're stuck waiting for me to make the next move. So I'll initiate. Whoever gets a major arcana showing up in their deck, it's almost like they call the next shot. That's how I could develop the reading. And so it does take some trial and error to work through this. And I won't try and explain the whole get set up because that's back in week 39. But those are the changes a couple of modifications I made. And I needed to document that. Even if I'm driving you nuts by saying it, I needed to document that. So I'll clear this away and we'll get back into the book. Okay, so one thing to start with is my main help is Kali. Now, I know I'm not supposed to actually show this, reproduce this in any way without written permission, and I will debate whether or not to use these in further videos at all. But Alana Fairchild's Kali Oracle, my dad, she called out to my dad, Kali did, because I've got such a strong connection to her. And he had just finished saying he didn't want to deal with darkness or anything. And then promptly for Christmas, she called out to him when he was looking for, and as when you don't want to, when you say you don't want to deal with something, of course you've always brought it along with you. So, but she came to me for Christmas. And so I have Alana's marvelous deck. The artwork is my favorite part of it because it oh hey Aaliyah, that's not reminding me of Aaliyah, but there is a card in here that reminds me of Aaliyah, and of course she's gone back into hiding. I get messages from her fairly regularly. Don't drop the baby. Got a message about that last couple of months. And so, no, it's meant a lot, and there's strong energy now with me. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Alana. And yes, I will, of course, not break the rules about that beyond this. Whoops. So that might end up being just a personal deck. We'll see what's meant to be. But so the reason why I sound like shit is because a Capricorn thing. It's also a Barani thing, the star that I'm born under. Last minute legal things. And so my best friend Tracy, we're up against a tremendous amount of corruption between County Court in Belfast, Northern Ireland, where she lives. I'm in Canada. But Belfast County Court and Northern Ireland Housing Executive. And so, just to make sure that everything went well, she's taking them to High Court. A High Court judge has actually been very helpful in her case. And she's been stuck in temporary housing for about 1 year and 8 months. And her kids are suffering tremendously. It's not safe housing. And they were put into that because in their permanent housing, they suffered tremendous violence from a neighbor through no fault of their own. And they also have disabilities. They need special modifications to the house, right, to meet their disabilities, like no stairs and things like that. And so, epic battle. Been going on for, well, at least a couple of years. And so she's the one, she's strong, Tracy Morris. If you ever Google Tracy Morris, so you'll find plenty on her. Okay? And I'm up against all the gang stalkers. You might end up on Hoaxstead research. And that's the opposite. That's the enemy site of what was my Hampstead research. I didn't create Hampstead research, but I created a Twitter account to help the people, the couple that did run Hampstead research. So, Tracy was also key witness in the Birmingham 6 botched inquest. And they kidnapped her underneath the courthouse, in the basement of the courthouse, so that she couldn't testify and provide her evidence as key witness. And then they reported her as absent from the trial, from the inquest. So, she and I have, then they, of course, not that much later, just in 2017, they murdered her daughter, Karina, and covered it up. So if you look up Karina Weedall Rice, it's reported as a suicide, and it's not a suicide. And they're actually closing up this month. They're closing up the hostel that she was being held prisoner in, where she was murdered. So they're shutting the doors to that hostel, Regina Kelly. And so, yeah, so Tracy's strength is in verbal and communicating, face to face, and fighting, okay? And when we met, she was hiding out in, well, what turned out to be a Freemason's home. Huge betrayal, but she was hiding out because she had set fire to an IRA home. She's Catholic, but still, English control the IRA anyway. But they were selling drugs to the kids, and so she wanted to stop them selling drugs to the kids. She's punched Jerry Adams out. I love her to bits. I met her because of Hampstead. She helped me out in my last relationship tremendously. She did me a huge favor. And so everything got on a very personal trust level with each other. But because I'm the paperwork kind of person, I ended up doing her appeal, all of it. And I had to go through both, there's 2 cases, so I had to go through the High Court judge's decision. And a lot of what he said was very supportive, and I did my best to, the county court was trying to use the High Court judge, or some of what the High Court judge was saying, against her. But there's a huge conspiracy in the county court. Okay, and it's all, I found it all, and there was stuff that she'd forgotten to talk about that I was party to and I'm witness to, and it's documented. And so I took the whole thing apart, also as a witness. So what you hear is me working through the nights, and on the last night working till 6:30 a.m. And we got this done with 3 hours to spare to get it delivered to High Court by the deadline that the county court judge had set out for her to appeal by. And I had to format all of this from a form that you get from when they tell you from county court, when they send you the email letting you know that your appeal has been dismissed, then they send you a link to the High Court page where it gives you this form, right? But then it only has so much spaces, so you have to copy paste into a new document, right? And so this is just a little idea of what I do know to do. And I know this because I was sued 4 times back in my 20s by my ex over our son. And that's how I have natural aptitude based on my chart. But also, when you have a friend to stand by, then that's what Capricorn does to their own detriment. So, yeah, she can't pull it together in paperwork the way that I can. And they were nailing her for that. Basically, the county court judge was just crucifying her as an excuse over her paperwork to block the progress over what is actually an outstanding situation of housing being long overdue in owing her permanent housing. There's a point system that she's part of, and she has top priority in the points system to be placed safely and permanently, and they know it. They also held back evidence that I provided. They held back from their files that proved that they were interfering with her appeal progress on this case because they were doing an unlawful eviction on her son, Aaron, at the same time, which is what I'm witness to. And so I don't know how far it's going to get us, but it's, I did my best. I did my best to take everything apart. There's a lot of two-faced writing in the county court judge's decision that has holes in it, and you just look for the holes and you call them out. And then precedents that he sets that with blind spots, and you find the blind spots and you point them out. And you have to look at the bigger picture, and you have to know that corruption is entirely a thing. And then you have to figure out how to be smart enough not to get caught in being too emotional. But strategy. And so this is why you can't guarantee what the High Court judge is going to say, if they're going to be brave enough or what have you. But the judge that Tracy had first in High Court, Judge Colton, he's the judge that has been assigned to go back over the 94 or 97 cases, trials, outstanding trials related to the Troubles, yes, all the assassinations up in the Northern Ireland. So, ballsy kind of guy to start off with. And he made my day with what he managed to do for her that gave me what I needed to, what I want to say, leveraging. Yes, you take what you can and you leverage. Okay, now I'm going to actually bring back Alana's deck just for 1 second. In particular, there's the card that was hiding on me last time. That reminds me of a certain someone. And she's back. Okay. Sorry, Alana, but Colleen needs me to do this, and I'll make it up to you if you ever even find out that I've done this anyway. But no, that's not the right one. Oh, but it will be the right one because that's the one that. Okay, this is reminding me of. Funny. Okay, I grabbed it quick, and that's why she's in red and green rather than in the blue. Okay, so she's making me pay attention to the arrows, which is reminding me that one of my cats that came to me, my son named him Chico, the Japanese word Chico, and this is several years ago. definitely a spirit guide to me, and Chico actually means arrow, and he came to me in the season of, the arrow is the symbol for the Pushya Nakshatra, and that's when he came to me. Okay, so that's who she wanted me to mention, but this is who I was meaning to get Matangi. And see the parrot there? And I have 3 parrots in my life. Matangi is attached to all the dirty crap in life, and it's recommended that if you're going to go try and meet with her, that you come even in to worship, you come in a state of dirtiness. She deals with all the biological crap, but it's not crap, is it? And so she I know she's I knew Kali was very attached to cleaning. And I know it's exactly why she had me start a cleaning business 4 years ago. And that's how she connected me to so many people that needed help on the other side. People who have been victims of murder and violent deaths. Just about every house connected me to somebody. But I know as soon as I see that parrot. But then you research Matangi. And so yes, no, I know very much. I've been in her energy. I've been made to see the world this way. In particular for her. And then of course all the legal work. But so this aspect of her, but that brings me back to the point of when I found Krishna Iyer on Quora answering questions, and he takes us back to the Indus Valley Seals and the fact that India originally only believed in one god. And he says, no, that's the truth. The multiple gods get developed as personas for what are actually astrophysical and particle physical phenomena, the elements of the universe. The Indus Valley Seals are pictograms of particle physics and astrophysics. Basically the building blocks of the universe. So that is absolutely at one with my perception of everything and the knowledge. So Kali to me is very definitely, if she's the great mother. When she visited me, she said, like, she had all my guides in the other room, but she made it clear to me that there was only her. And I come from a Christian background, so I'm not sure if she is Jesus as well or how that all works out still. But she is the one who manifested to me in the visual physical. So, and at first, of course, like I've said, I thought she was a demon. But there's so many points to make here. Okay, this is the first deck of tarot cards. This is a deck where she is the devil card. Okay, and how I know it's her, it's because of the tongue motif. Kali's tongue. I think there's even, yes, there's one card in here that shows that, but I'll pause. Okay, like so many statues and paintings of her have this tongue, the Rolling Stones tongue. Yes, it's her tongue. And of course, so tongue here and tongue here. I knew that was and it was her reaching out to me through that deck, and I had been terrified of decks. We're gonna find out why, but I was brought to them slowly, gradually, very deliberately, and that was starting with David Schurter. If you look up davidschurter.com, and he and I were very close at one point, and I'm sure it's she who caused the gas station explosion, but it cast a whole lot of doubt. No, we want to put it on Doug Mesner, Lucian Greaves. However, the point being that Capricorn, to me, one of the main things told to me in this month is that tarot, there's the nakshatra in Capricorn, that is the nakshatra of drawings. Chitra is also means picture. Chitra means picture. That's another nakshatra that's over between Virgo and Libra. But in one of the nakshatras of Capricorn, okay? Excellent drawers are supposed to come from there. So we could say it's a toss-up between Chitra and, is it Uttara or Shravana? I've got to remember. I've got it right here. It's just there's so much information floating through my head right now. But I'm going to say that it's Capricorn. I'm going to say that Capricorn is all about your story to tell. What's your story to tell? As much as it's about career or anything like that. Because I think second house has way more to do with career than we thought. But this idea of the drawings, the understanding through drawings, and what they brought me to do in the activities that they got me to focus on, and the fact that I got the Kali deck when I really did not expect to get it at all. So I want to say that Tarot is the gift of Capricorn. And anytime we're dealing with Tarot, we are relying on Capricorn energy and Capricorn's gift to everybody to get to the heart of things, get to the heart of the truth about ourselves and the universe. So it is uniquely, I do believe that the point being made to me is that it is uniquely Capricorn energy behind Tarot. And on to the next. Because further to that, and I'll just focus here for a second while they got me into finally, it's been with me just as long. Same house as I was led to. Same house as I was led to this deck, because this is my copy of the deck, but I was led to it in the same house as is this box. And this is the house of my friends Rick and Mike. I cleaned their home. Been with them for 3 years now. Okay. And I knew, yeah, an attack was coming. This is one of their, this plant is from, I used to clean for their friend as well. And she, either they gave some of this plant to her or she gave some of this plant to them. But it comes to me as not a good omen. And suddenly they put it up on display at the beginning of December, and I was like, oh no, we're headed for a showdown. But what I failed, now I'd been photographing this already because of the pink spider. Now the spider in the deck, this is the Loteria deck. Loteria or Loteria? Shoot me now, I've got to look up how to pronounce it. And it's not normally a pink spider, but it faded, it printed to that color here. And so I was like, that's no accident, because I am pink spider, right? Why am I pink spider? Because of grandmother spider, because of the spider that I painted when I was 2 years old. She spoke right through me. This is Kali again, spoke right through me when I was 2 while she still had the chance. Okay, so then I photographed, finally I went and I photographed all the sides of the box, because here we have the rose, and we know from my other videos, all the work with the blue rose that came to me through all the murder victims that work with me. So that ties into the Twin Peaks experience that I didn't find out until this past year. And then we have a skull, but over here we have the bell. Anything else I want to, and the parrot. Moon, not surprisingly, there's a soldier over here. Okay. The 33, my phone took a photo, yes. The 33, of course, is the spider. And I am a 33. That's my birth date. Adds up to 33. So many messages. I pointed it out to Rick as well. So the fact that the deck came to, that both this, because they're huge fans of Mexico, and they're down there all the time. But because this deck came to me, and this all happens for me at Rick's and Mike's, okay? So finally I went digging into the, hang on. I thought I had it there right away. I don't. I went digging into Loteria and I find just random, you know, this speaks to me. Work that people have done. So this is the deck, this particular deck. Let's see if I can, then I lose it altogether. Okay, so there's how the spider in this deck normally looks, okay? Not so pink, right? But I located the exact deck from the car production facility. Okay, so that took some doing, and I'm finding that on loteriaelsewhere.org or Loteria. What struck me was I go and I look up the bell and I'm like, wait a minute, I did a drawing and now I am 43, okay? And it's 43, right? And this is how we're figuring out who's helping us. Now back in 2008, I was coming up with drawing projects for my drawing students, because that's when I launched Beginning of Drawing. And drawing is the thing that I had to push for in life. They shut it down. The world shut it down on me when after I painted that pink spider. I shut down for... See how even this is in the same, almost the same position. This is a drawing I did of a little metal bell that my mother bought. Like, it's a physical thing. It sat on our piano and I used it and I just looked at it and drew it. So it's not a drawing of a drawing. Further to that, like these are the other. So the motif is that I was drawing single objects and then I would get people to describe these objects to their classmates, right? And see what people would come up with. But the light bulb is gonna, but again, so this is when they communicate to you through your work before you know what they're communicating, before you know what it's all about, right? I have many such instances, so this is part of it, and we'll come back to that because there are several other evidences to me of how they spoke to me through the drawings before I ever knew. Even, let me just pan up for a second here. And this photograph that I have here is a very, shit. Let's put Spider where she can't get hurt. This is a very pivotal moment for me when I was 17, yeah, over in Amsterdam. Dad took me over to Europe in the summer and I saw this, it doesn't get clearer, but I saw her sitting there working on her pictures and I just knew it was like a space-time thing. It's a Virgo moment where I just, I saw a version of myself. I was looking at her and I was looking at myself, what I wanted. Like there was just a clarity of like, this is, she's like who you are. And look at all the space around her. Like there was nothing to do but to see her. And of course and then I took a photo. I was like, no, this matters so much that I have to take a photo of it. And I've never really had too many moments like that. And it was just absolute, and I had been sleepwalking the night before. The only time I've gone sleepwalking. They were breaking the programming. They were breaking the mind control in me. And this was clarity in the middle of it. Like it's all very intentional. And so a clear vision of myself. But here we have this painting that I haven't finished yet. This is further to the Capricorn experience. This is auto drawing. It just comes out. It just came out that way. Completely asymmetrical and yet symmetrical at the same time, right? And I thought I was dealing with I knew I was dealing with the elements. I've got a cross right here that hasn't been painted in yet. But I've got the tongue of fire here, and I've got the earth here, and I've got fish over here, and I've got mountains and air up there, right? And then I have this woman bent over. And there's going to be the harvest, yes, all around her. And I thought I was dealing with a Christian motif. And what I'm dealing with, the most basic motif of all. But also, obviously, the zodiac. So, not that that isn't, sorry, I have this thing here because it buffers. The picture the frame makes a sound, a squeaking sound against the wall all the time. So, that's one case of auto drawing, where the message came through me ahead of my understanding, right? But for now, before I get into even more drawings, which will only serve really to either bore you, but basically just further the point, right? So of course, so sorry, yes. This is, your relationship with drawing is part of this, but not only that. What I've got down here are different aspects of, I'll just show it to you. Get it up where you can see it. So yes, Loteria. Drawing it, yep. Story of your life. The story that's yours to tell, fulfill, and change. Tremendous animal energy, yes. The dog that came to me with the messages ties to, I'm sure if I go back to the other months and pay more attention to animal messages, I know they're always there, but it was particularly, which ties to Revati, is actually over in Pisces, I believe. Maybe Pisces and Aquarius, or Pisces and Aries. Revati is actually the nakshatra that they connect to animal advocacy. But that's where my Mercury is. That's also the expert navigator. Yeah, tarot is Capricorn. And I've got even more proof of that. Well, could we say proof? Yeah, well, for me. But the month started when I go back into my screenshots of my phone, because everything's dated there, right? Manilius. I went back and I was looking up Manilius again because of what he had been. Well, he's the first Western. His book is the first Western book, apparently, although Germanicus also did something. But Manilius focuses on the astrological and the astronomical. But when I was looking him up, there are two affirmations to pay attention to him based on two Capricorn images are tied to him through Augustus, who was ruling in his time when he finished it. But he brings me back to, he speaks that Araphile, Aragon, who will link up with Araphile, and therefore, but Virgo, basically, right? If she's in charge of your life, then she will speak through you, and she will shape your life. Now is Araphile, Aragon. Now Araphile, I connect to Araphile through the Sibyl's work of Mama Zogbe. So I've got this in screenshots, but does it all lead to Kali? Is Kali God? But I know the Orisha are not Kali. I know they're different. And I got a message from Oya in all of this. Capricorn is known for answering only to one God. And there's an interesting comment on Vidyamitra about how Indians who are not Muslim will make many friends with Muslims in this nakshatra. And I'm thinking, well, but then that can only be recent because we've only had Muslims for so long. Now, if we go back to the cultures around the work of Arabic as a script language, and the thinking, the cultural thinking that goes along with tessellations and the Arabic language, that goes back. How far back does that go? I've got to think about it now that I'm saying it. But I've identified very strongly with the roots of the script language of Arabic and what it brings to the world, and the tessellations. So I think we've got to get back into how we express through pictures, what our design ideas are. And then I was tying it to the symbols. Uttara Ashada, you have planks of a bed. I had a water bed for years and years. So it is Shravana about the drawing. Okay. Yep. And my headboard for my water bed. So you tie the symbols into, yes, and Uttara Ashada is the epic trilogy writer, according to Vidya Mitra. And that explains all, this is exactly time of year that all of those books came to me. I had about 12 books, and I would say they weren't given to me, they were unlocked in my head. I came with them. They came with me when I was born, and they're parts, so there are things inside you that get unlocked. There's Hatshepsut, the dwarf planet Hatshepsut, yes. Now, then we have to get into my 10th house placements, of course, not just my Capricorn. But there's a shit ton of work. Oh, right, the Ashlesha Saturn. Yes, that's where we found in doing the cards that, and there's actually a teardrop on the other side of this page. Capricorn and a tax. Capricorn and a tax. But, okay, so that's something of, oh yes, we have to look at the verdicts in your chart too. And it's, you know, I started to get into that. But I think that's basically how I'm spelling it out in here. Then, of course, back to this page is filling up fast. But before that, there is the way that the forensic way to solve who's guiding you and what's going on in your 10th, okay? So of course that means we have to stay on top of and catch up to, because I'm going to come back to Sonic in a minute here, because Sonic has been extremely helpful. Bill Freiberger in particular, but the whole Sonic team. Sonic, they wanted to tell a lot to me in Capricorn through Sonic. But of course, so forensically, we go back through. Now I'm missing some serious, I still have to finish filling this in, because the ketchup, you know, I'm not actually sure that I'm going to succeed at what I'm supposed to succeed at right now. And my life depends on it. Although I don't know what's the worst that's going to happen if I miss what I'm supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it. But we're on schedule, right? But anyway, so I've done my best, and that's partly why I'm so sick. But we go back in and we evaluate what was happening, right? And we summarize up here, figure it all out, right? Week for week for week. And that's why it doesn't all have to be information from other people's astrology books or astrology studies. We are doing our own study. And so that's how I know. And again, it's by going back and reviewing. Then you find things that you connect things, and you find things, and you find the bigger picture. And why did that shitty thing happen there, right? And what was before it, and what's after it, right? And you start to actually, you can finish building the puzzle, okay? And so that's how. Let's see. I'll come up to the camera with those. See if there's anything that's helpful to point out. Let's see here. And of course, like, you need to be honest. So I'd love to spare the people that are closest to me in my life if they piss me off or hurt me. But then I can't keep up with the science of it all. So, oh yes, Justice Shakur, the reader that Amabella put me pointed towards, and that's Tupac's daughter. So to realize that I knew something, yes. I knew she channeled Aaliyah, yes. And that was before I knew she was Tupac's daughter. So Justice Shakur, if you look her up on YouTube. Yes, I had somebody was able to change what my eyes were seeing because I read the bus as an 18 and it wasn't an 18 at all, and I got on it. And I live by, like, I do all my work by bus, so there's no way. And it wasn't because of fatigue or anything like that. No, it was very deliberate communication that I believe that Kali is that close to me that she can actually change what my eyes see. Right, Amy Rose. We'll get back to Amy Rose and Styx from Sonic. Capricorn, tell her writer, because in here, Muslims are coming up strong in this energy, but it's not working for me to use the name Muslims. I'm thinking specifically through language, script, Arabic, and it turns out via Krishna Iyer that the Upanishads say there's only one God. Multiple gods were person, right? So that's what I'm picking up from the things that happen in here, right? When I find out that Justice is Tupac's daughter, things like that, right? And I'm keeping track of watching Sonic Boom with my son. And that concluded, we got through all the episodes at the same time as we finished this month. So it was so specific to this, okay? And there I'm finding Hingal, the Hingal Phoenix. But there are all kinds of day-to-day things that happened that you take it all in stride, not in stride. Sarasvati, there, because there's, yeah, the supercluster of Sarasvati. Okay, but so all of life's dramas, okay, I keep track of it all, I review it all, and that's how I start to. So I got the whole truth of my story. There was that overlap with all the root work in Taurus, right? And I've kept this page out to remind me about Shravana. But and that's because Shravana being the pictures, the drawings, right? But that is merely my Capricorn. Then we get into my 10th. Now here's how much it matters that the difference between your whole house 10th and your uneven house 10th, right? And so what my 10th is inside of me, right, spans from Maga or Maga to Purva Ashada. No, Purva Falguni. Sorry, the Ashadas are up. The Ashadas are up in Sagittarius and Capricorns. Purva Falguni and Uttara Falguni. The reason I'm mixing them up is because you have Purva and Uttara again and again. And I realize I'm holding it in a way that's not clear for you. I can't fix the focus auto. But, so down here I've done the work of figuring out, and probably it's like information overload, to explain exactly how relevant this is. These are pre-existing conditions for me that I'm born into that I have to, like, hopefully find out about one day. My mom died never knowing her chart. Then this is how it plays out through Chitra and Svati. And Chitra is all about design and architecture and basically taking design concepts and translating them into understandable. I did not invent the wheel, I realize, but I've modified it. Okay? And it not just as a, like, other, you go online and you can find all kinds of, like, multiple composite wheels, right? But the fact that I'm using 2 house systems and that I've combined tropical and sidereal, I'm the only one I know that so far that's combined tropical and sidereal. And then I'm going to, of course, modify this further to be an uneven zodiac. that's scientifically, mathematically accurate to the actual sizes of the constellations and the ingresses of the sun. And then, of course, Svati carries the wind energy, the entrepreneurial attention deficit energy, yes. But there are all kinds of details that's like, well, yeah, that's how it's been going. This is what I've been, let's say, rooted in, stuck in. Or these are my default modes, and here's where I have to apply, right? And then you have to sort of figure out how to combine it all. And then because it's forensic, we're already in the middle of it. So it's like mostly just affirmation and clarification and tweaking. And then really you're stuck in having analyzed enough, but how to jump from having analyzed enough into doing fast enough to make up, to not get lost, to not get passed over because you've been stuck doing the background work. So I've gone in, I have an understanding of both 10th houses. And it's all coming down to looking back and realizing, and of course, looking at the planet placements, because, and I still have to catch up. I've been working on the earth element story, yes. So I'll be back, because we've got to get right into Leo. We're cutting into Leo's time now, but Cappy's time was cut into. But, okay, just a final little segment here.